Welcome back to Heads and Tails. My name's Henry Faber. I'm one of the two founders here at Oppenheimer Education, and I'm really fortunate to have Robin Davies with me today, calling in from Lagos in Nigeria. So Robin recently joined the founding leadership team at Charterhouse Lagos as head of primary to open the first major British independent school in Lagos in Nigeria. Really, really exciting. Excited to hear about that part of the world and all his plans. If we go back a little, starting out, Robin spent 10 years in informal education, from activity instruction, environmental educator in the Everglades, working as an expeditioner in Iceland, Australia, Borneo, all the way to being an education ranger in the New Forest, a real diversity of geography and experience. He's a trained secondary science teacher. He holds an MBA in educational leadership internationally and is in pursuit of the best curriculum for the 21st century. Overall, Robin has 25 years in independent education, and his school leadership has included UK and international prep schools, as well as system leadership, director of education roles with an international school group. It's a really wide array of experience and a real pleasure for us to draw on, and a privilege for us to draw on today. So thank you, Robin, very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for the invite. It's quite a dizzying chronology you've just read out. I'm just wondering if that was actually me, but I guess it was.
People always get real imposter syndrome when that moment comes, and I'm always impressed by how modest people are. But it's great. It's important people know where you're from. We're passionate about all things mentorship. So I'm going to kick off with a little bit of a question to you on: do you have a mentor? Did you have a mentor growing up? Your perspective on mentorship in general would be great.
Uh, I'm the youngest of five, so arguably I had four intrinsic mentors, my older siblings, whether willingly or unwittingly. They were a big factor in my growing up, my development. Arguably umbrellaed by our dear mum. She was obviously a key factor as we grew up. But as though that range of experiences took over, I had the great fortune of benefiting from just such a range of people who weren't official mentors. They just happened to be there. The early activity instructing I did, we had a team of us, and we call ourselves the Dorset Dumplings. We're still in touch, about 30 years ago now. But I learned so much about how to interact with children, about how to nurture their personal development, reviewing the activities that we did. We did canoeing, camping, climbing down on the south coast. And they were great, sort of unwritten mentors, as it were. And then when I got into education, to my PGCE, and then started up as a head of science in a prep school in East Sussex, the headmistress, Jenny Lee, she was one of these people who, when she laughs, the entire building laughs. And she drove the culture of decency, authenticity. And I think I learned so much just from being in her presence, as well as her duty of care to me as one of her new staff. Then going through to various leadership roles, working with Cognita, the large school group. Simon Canby was, again, an unwritten mentor, but a great line manager, again, who always asked pertinent questions with no judgment, but was always very supportive. And then coming to where I am now, working with the team that we have in Charterhouse Lagos, where the culture is one of openness, of transparency. And again, we're all in pursuit of authenticity in our roles, in our respective roles. There's five of us as the founding team, and we've got a team of 15 plus support staff who are all magnificent, and they contribute to our learning on a daily basis. Of that, there is no doubt. I've had a couple of coaches in recent years, and I think I've probably come to full circle that I've got my certification as an executive coach and mentor myself. So hopefully I'm feeding off or standing on the shoulders of others who have nurtured me, and hopefully I'm returning that to the people that I work with.
Great, lovely systemic look at that, I think, as a perspective. Really good. If we go back a little, school, I meet a range of people who either loved, hated school, anything in between. Perhaps an anecdote from your time at school, or something you reflect back on?
Oh, I can only say I had the very, very best of both worlds. I've been the youngest of five. My dad was in the Navy, so we had opportunities to go through the independent sector. I boarded when I was seven, and I was lucky. I loved it. I had a great time. But then we came out of the prep school and went through middle school and comprehensive sector down in Dorset. and quite frankly, they were both equally brilliant. And I look back on both of them with such fondness and good fortune. By the time it got up into the sixth form at the comprehensive, there was it was a school which really had a very positive sports ethos, and I was able to engage with that, so playing the rugby, but also had a very extensive outdoor pursuits faculty as well. And so I actually went to Iceland on a school project, and it was a real proper expedition. We boxed up, bagged up all our rations. We spent weekends training for it, and fundraising for it because it was all self-funded. And we would do sponsored walks of Chesil Beach and so on. Again, two great mentors, Graham and Martin Birtwistle, who stand firm in my memory as wonderful, nurturing, genuine teachers. So I was lucky with my education.
Sounds like a good mix there. And moving forward into your career, all those places I mentioned and different, spread of activity you've been involved with, has there been a toughest moment to date? Anything that's really stands out as a challenge?
I guess physically, I could say that 3 months and was living on the second highest mountain in Borneo as the project manager was.
That's definitely one of the best answers we've had yet.
Well,
Do go on.
physically it was challenging, but I was surrounded by great people, and we made it what we made it. In actual fact, the outcome of those 3 months, we wrote a 75-page report sitting under this logging shack out in the wilds, and that report eventually turned the mountain into an eco reserve, which people can go and now blaze the trails again that we made. So it was very positive, but that was physically. I've got to say, I think that upon reflection, the hardest thing about being fortunate to go from place to place and experience to experience is leaving each place, because you build up the rapport, the peoples and the places, and you grow into it. And I've never really been much of a holidayer where you just go into a place, sit on a beach, or I've always really liked being part of a place and knowing the people more. I keep on coming back to the word authentically. Well, here I am out in Lagos doing the same.
Yeah. I feel like there'll be a really strong group of international teachers and school leaders for whom this will resonate. That sort of sense of wandering, but also of being part of something that's different and unique, and not settling for what's normal. So totally appreciate all of that.
I think that the joy is we've gone through a fantastic recruitment process. Obviously, we're going to be opening up in September, and we have trawled hundreds of fantastic applicants from around the world. I've actually got an A to Z up on the board in the office where we're trying to see how many countries we're talking to. And at the moment, 22 countries from Australia to Zambia. And what a great range of applicants we've had. So I think the approach to it, trying to think about how we want to lead, how we want to work with our team, has been that we've had initial conversations with people. We haven't jumped straight into formal interview panels because we want to develop a rapport with the candidates. And I think that the feedback has been incredibly positive, saying that they've appreciated that approach. The international landscape, educational landscape, is so big. And in some of the settings, it's such a almost factory-like that there isn't that personal approach. And while it will continue to be difficult and increasingly difficult as we get big, I think that it will be something that we need to try and hold on to, that relational approach.
Lovely. That sounds great. And to go from the challenges, from the difficulties, whether in Borneo or of headship, has there been an absolute highlight, perhaps, I guess, tied into the educational experiences you've had, maybe a best moment along the way?
Well, generically, it's been working with those peoples and places. The flip side of leaving them is that you've got the life experience of working with them and benefiting from that time and those experiences together. I would say that the last 4 years in the Cayman Islands, in the Caribbean, we did.
I can see why.
Well, I after 4 years with this large school group, I had responsibility, the oversight of 11 prep schools in the UK, and we're working with 11 of the most fantastic school leaders. Talk about sort of reverse mentorship. The amount of things that I learned from those 11 people was wonderful. But after 4 years on the road, the opportunity came up for family and our dog to move over to the Cayman Islands and to run a school, over 500 children as part of a through school. And it was great to go back to the coalface and actually have those day-to-day interactions, dealing with the challenges. Before COVID kicked in, we had earthquake, we had hurricane, tropical storm, those things that happen. And when you go through those as a community, everyone grows and everyone becomes stronger.
I suppose I'd love to ask you a kind of mini question, not on my list, which is international schools, they seem to have their own DNA, really, that sort of melting pot of both teachers and students, and an interesting place in itself. What do you think it is that most defines the character of an international independent school?
That's great. The character of international school, it's so far and wide, the range of schools that are in existence. And obviously there are pockets of them. There's the Middle East, the Far East, where there are hubs of international schools working under the same franchises or partnerships. So it'd be lovely if there was a generic DNA, but I think that there's so far and wide between the ethoses and the aims. Some are very, very hardcore academic in pursuit of the academics. Some are more holistic, and it's just the ones that really find the balance of that, nurturing the mind, the soul, and the spirit of the child. Those are the ones I think which are taking our children properly and effectively into the future.
Nice answer. Maybe it's the lack of a generic DNA which makes them so interesting. That unique quality. Content. Now, everyone is always looking for the next great book, the film, the podcast. Are you big on content? Perhaps there's something along those lines that you'd highly recommend to our listeners.
Oh, the book at the moment is Thrive by Valerie Hannon. Sorry, we're reading it as a senior leadership team. Because the five of us have all got our copy, and we're systematically going through. We've just done chapters 1, 2, 3, which sets the challenge of how are we as individuals, as society, on a global level, going to thrive with the challenges that we face. I've been working on this for a good few years now myself, because the dissertation I did for my MBA was what's the most effective curriculum for the 21st century. And arguably, I didn't actually make any firm conclusion, because there's such an area. You look across jurisdictions around the world, and they're all trying to do the same thing. They're all got that sort of focus on being popular with the parents and making sure that the children are succeeding for whatever is next, which is typically all the way up to universities and so on. But I think that we're in a position now in society where we need to just do a bit of let's pause and think. And arguably, this role here in Charterhouse Lagos, it's not that we've got a blank canvas, because we've partnered with one of the most prestigious schools in the UK, and we are duty bound, heritage wise, and in terms of pursuit of rigor to follow the English national curriculum, which we will do certainly with the English and the maths. But we've also got the opportunity to be more expansive. So we're going to go with the international primary curriculum, which really engenders the spirit of inquiry amongst the children. And there's barely a day that goes by without some headlines saying children need to have greater creativity or curiosity. And I think that's the way ahead. But we mustn't lose sight of the importance of a knowledge-rich curriculum. So as ever, it's a balance. And again, to try and look forward to the challenges of the 21st century, which we've concluded. We've got our own learning drivers confirmed as a school as part of our values and vision and mission statements. The learning challenges, the learning drivers are sustainability, technology, future employability, morality, well-being. So we've got those as listed and reviewed, and the book Thrive really is a big support to those. It's really got the grey matter whirring apace to really answer the question why are we doing this?
Lovely. I think your mention of kind of having a fresh start with curriculum decisions, even if much of it is fixed to what's traditional, you can also really innovate, and it must be so exciting to have that blank canvas in a sense with a completely fresh school and setting the pace and
Yeah,
setting the DNA. And much of what you
I would
mentioned, I
say,
think.
yeah.
Sorry,
So,
go ahead.
well, the as well as the core learning, the English and the maths are what I would say the majority of parents are really interested in. But
Mm,
we want to, like all good independent schools, like all good schools, full stop, want to flesh it out with stuff that really, really allows, enables children to be prepared for the next world, whatever it's going to look like. So we've got a program of Nigerian and African studies, which is so thrilling. It's so fantastic for the children in year one to start off with, understanding where they are, where they're going to school in the locality of Lekki, just off Lagos. Then for year two to understand where Lagos sits in Nigeria. Then year three, where Nigeria sits in Western Africa, and expand over to year six, where they've got a really comprehensive viewpoint of the continent of Africa and how it sits. But the idea behind that is that we want children to know where they belong, where their identity is, so they are firmly rooted into where they've grown up. But we also want to look at global competence, and that's part of the international primary curriculum. Anthony Jackson's work on global competence is quite another book, which is a driving force as well. So
lovely.
we're here to channel what's right for the children for the next few decades.
How exciting. Everyone has an unpopular or a controversial opinion. I've spoken to people who are more or less inclined to share it, but perhaps I could ask you to give it a go for yours. An unpopular or controversial opinion you'd stand up behind.
Yeah, putting me on the spotlight there.
It's a real banana skin, isn't it? But we like to
I'm
see what you're up to.
I'm going to say the word grades or results. I've got two teenagers, well, now going into their 20s, who are at university. Now, both of them, they've done their GCSEs, they've done their A levels, um, they've moved on. But I do question the cost, the process of that pursuit of just getting the A stars, just getting, and the cost that it is on our young people. So I don't think it's particularly contentious, and I think there is widespread concern about the impact that the current process it has on the children. Don't be asking me for a solution though. Because I work in preps and primaries, so I've got a caveat there. But I think that one thing we do need to do is to make sure that we are genuine when we talk about pastoral care, when we talk about the looking after the mind, not just the brain that's getting those grades.
Agreed. I think that's nicely put. And I think while you're right, I mean, plenty of us would agree with you on the grades point. The solution is the interesting bit and how to balance those things out. But I think it's a good point. To finish, I've got one final question for you, really, which is really aimed at our listeners or our readers. If you were someone developing a career in this sector, what advice would you share with them?
Open mind, consistently open mind. I was given some advice before going out to the Cayman Islands. I'd spent 4 years theoretically knowing everything there is to know about education. And turns out I really didn't know that much about education because the world suddenly opened up. The advice I was given was if you think you're going to go in to the school and lead it with everything you know, then just wipe the slate clean because carry everything that you've done, but wipe the slate clean because you won't have done it there. And very much the same as we're bringing in wonderful teachers with expertise here to Charterhouse Lagos, and we will be saying, we've all, I've led schools, we've taught this subject, we've taught that subject, but we've never done it here. So to have an open mind, to be looking left and right, up and down at everyone around you, and to be assimilating their expertise and everything that works. That way, we're ultimately all going to get a bit better at what we're doing.
I think that's a lovely place to finish. Robin, you're all just beginning on a really exciting process in a really exciting part of the world. I know people will watch with a keen eye. And although I'm sure you'll miss that, clear sunshine beach in the Cayman Islands, once the Hamatan has arisen
funny enough, yeah.
from Lagos, I think you're going to have a great time, and I think it'll be a fascinating process to stay in touch with. So a big thank you for sharing the time with us, and we wish you all the very best.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Henry.